I was bawling my eyes out. Tears were streaming down my face.
It's an honor having you here, Andy.
I appreciate being here. Thank you for inviting me.
Can you actually move the mic closer to your mouth real quick?
Yep, got you.
Yeah, you can do whatever you need to do. Drag it, move it. You need to unscrew anything. All right.
Hello.
Yeah, great. You sound good from there. Again, I want to thank you for coming here. And when I ran into you back in February, you didn't even know who I was, but I knew who you were because you'd always be at Common Ground in Elkhorn doing one-on-ones with these kids. And then when you coached at the previous basketball program, my brother knew you pretty well, and you coached him a little bit in some skills and just one-on-one practices like that. And I remember seeing you there, and we vaguely met, but not like didn't get to know your whole story. And then fast forward to February 2021 at Good Life, I walked up to you, and you were just sitting at your table. I'm like, you probably don't remember me, but do you remember my brother, Cole? And you're like, yeah, that name sounds so familiar. I gave you my brother's full name, Cole Wiesman, and I showed you a picture. And then you're like, oh my gosh, how he's doing? And that kind of brightened up my night. And then I was like, yeah, what's new with you? And then you just opened up with our new basketball facility. You're super faithful now, and you're super vulnerable. And then from February, fast forward to April, ran into you at Relevant, and you were even more vulnerable there. And I'm like, I have to bring you on for an episode. I think your story is very impactful, and I think the state of Nebraska would love to hear it. And also, in my opinion, you're very well known in the competitive basketball community in the state of Nebraska, Omaha and Lincoln primarily, I'd say. And your new program, AEF, is booming right now. So I want to talk about that as well as your story. So once again, I want to thank you for coming on today.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it. You said 2021, you meant 2024. Because we just this was a couple months ago in February, right?
Correct.
Right.
Oh, did I accidentally say 2021?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that was not confusing.
Thank you for catching my mistake.
Yeah, got you.
So when I did my research on you, everything I saw was basketball. And I didn't see anything about like your childhood or the way you grew up or what high school or college you even went to. So can you talk about the timeline of you being born to high school?
Yeah. So I was born and raised in Omaha, Nebraska. Grew up on like 52nd and Blondo for a couple of years, then moved to 156th and Blondo, and then down to 99th and Blondo, and then 67th and Blondo. We always have lived between Blondo and Dodge. And I have a twin brother, an older brother, and an older sister. We were born and raised Catholic. So we went to St. Pius, St. Leo for grade school, elementary and middle school. And then my freshman year, I went to Roncalli for one semester with my twin brother, and we transferred to prep for the last 3.5 years. I had a great childhood, amazing childhood. I was very close with my siblings, extremely close with my twin brother. It's my best friend still to this day. So is my older brother. We're all very close. We're all very close with our sister as well. She lives in Texas, but that's how we grew up, family vacations together, eating dinner together. And that changed a little bit as we got older, but just an incredible childhood, amazing parents that are still married to this day, 46 years, that showed us the love of Jesus and showed us their faith. However, I will say, being born and raised Catholic, I didn't have faith. I didn't catch the importance of having a relationship with Jesus through the Catholic Church and through the Catholic school. Since then, that has changed. I wouldn't change it for a thing. I think that we went to great schools and we had good education, but I wouldn't say that the upbringing in the Catholic Church is what brought me to Jesus, but my parents themselves have had a huge part to play in that.
So I want to get to your faith. I want to get in that category, that topic later on. Where did your love for basketball come from?
Sports in general was big in our house growing up. My older brother was good at every sport, baseball, football, basketball, you name it. He was good at it. So he's 7.5 years older than Matt and I, but he made sure that we were super close, and he got us into sports at a really young age. So we tried all the sports, tried soccer for about a year, didn't like it. We're not very good at it. Tried baseball, very briefly. Didn't like it. It was like T-ball. We're not interested. Tried wrestling, I think, for 2 weeks. Didn't like it at all. Tried basketball and fell in love. Loved having a ball in my hands. Loved shooting around. I could shoot for hours. It didn't matter if it was nice outside or if it was raining or snowing. We would shovel the driveway and go shoot. So basketball is something that I fell in love with at an early age. I remember going to Creighton games at the old arena and watching Kyle Korver just being like, all I want to do is shoot threes now. And just learn how to play the game the right way and just a ball and a hoop. You give me a ball, you give me a hoop, I could be out there for hours.
Did you have a favorite NBA team growing up?
I did, and this is not a bandwagon answer because I'm not a Celtics fan anymore, but growing up, I was a Celtics fan. My dad brainwashed my brothers and I to be Yankees, Celtics, and Bears fans. I am still a Yankees and a Bears fan. I don't care too much about baseball, but I'll root for the Yankees. I'm not a Celtics fan anymore. I was a Celtics fan growing up because of my dad, and then Paul Pierce after Kyle Korver in college. I was like, all right, Kyle Korver's my college guy, but Paul Pierce was my NBA guy. I loved him. The truth, he was a slower, somewhat tall player. Wasn't extremely athletic, wasn't extremely tall, wasn't extremely strong, but he was smooth and he was good. And I figured that's the style I wanted to play at. So definitely the Celtics growing up. When they got the big three, I would say the big four with Rajon Rondo, Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, and Paul Pierce, and they won the championship. I think that was 2008. That was pretty cool. And then Steph Curry stepped into the league, and I'm like, I gotta jump over to the Warriors because of my man Steph. He's my favorite player of all time.
I want to talk about Steph towards the end, but did you play high school basketball?
So I have a very interesting career, basketball playing career. So I played from the age of like kindergarten all the way up until my freshman year in high school. I was playing at Roncalli, played on their freshman A team. I was good. Like I was decent. I was not quick. I was not very athletic. I was a good shooter and I was a good passer and I was decent enough at ball handling to get the ball up the court for a freshman Roncalli team that was not very good. I think we went 1-4. We beat Boys Town, and in that game I had 5 threes in the first half, and then I scored 0 points in the second half. They denied me the ball in the second half, but I've always had a love for basketball, and I've always had a knack for it, and I've been smart with how to get an advantage on the court. If I'm not quick, I need to be smart. So then we transferred, my brother Matt and I transferred to prep halfway through freshman year. We didn't have a great experience around college, so we transferred to prep. Couldn't play at prep. Their season was already going, and so I was going to get ready to try out my sophomore year, and I had mono the entire month of November, so I couldn't go to school or tryouts, so I could not try out my sophomore year. And then from sophomore year to junior year, I grew 4 or 5 inches over the summer. I grew way taller. I could dunk, like rim graze. I'm not saying like I was going crazy, but I could get high enough to dunk, and I thought, if I even get a dunk in the layup line, I'll maybe make JV as a junior, which was something I was really hoping for. And then I dislocated my right shoulder and had surgery a couple weeks before tryouts at a football practice. And then my junior year, at that point it was basically over. If I would have went to tryouts, would I have made the team? Probably not, but I re-injured myself anyways. So it was not in the cards for me to play through high school.
So you only played a full season of high school basketball your freshman year?
5 games.
5 games total.
Yeah, just 5 games my freshman year at Roncalli Catholic. And I've been asked quite a few times, where'd you play in high school? Where'd you play in college? This and that. 5 games, and then I played for the YMCA when I recovered my junior year from shoulder surgery, and then I played again at the YMCA my senior year, just with some buddies to have fun. And it was a lot of fun. It was 20 or 30 points a game because you're playing in the Y, but it was still good to stay playing, but it really was never in the cards for me to play competitively in high school.
So where did your love for coaching begin after high school, I'm assuming?
It wasn't after high school. It was during high school. So when I transferred high schools my freshman year from Roncalli to prep, my dad asked me to coach with him for St. Pius, like a 6th grade B team for St. Pius, because he was their coach. And my dad had been a coach for a while, on and off at St. Pius for a couple of different teams. And so he asked me to coach with him. I was a freshman in high school. I was about to coach sixth graders, so I wasn't all that much older than them, but I had nothing else to do. Couldn't play at prep, so I was like, yeah, I'll coach. And I fell in love with coaching after the first 30 minutes of practice. And that team was not good. They were not good. And I've had a lot of teams that were not that skilled, but I knew that that was what I wanted to do forever because I was with a bunch of kids that were not good at basketball and I still loved it. You know, I could still teach them things and enjoy the process.
Where do you think that passion at such a young age came from?
Just helping people, watching my dad help people, watching my mom help people growing up was a big thing. My mom's been a personal trainer my whole life, and watching her get so much joy out of helping other people, seeing them hit fitness goals and lose weight, and just love being around her in the gym. She was the one that gave us passion for fitness for sure. And then my dad just having a passion for humans and wanting to help humans. And so it definitely came from my parents, just wanting to help other people and the youth, especially watching someone who hardly knows how to do something to being able to just get it step by step is something that I've always enjoyed.
How long did you coach at St. Pius, St. Leo for?
Great question. So I coached my freshman year as my dad's assistant with Matt. Matt and I were both coaching with him. And my dad kicked him off the team the following year because we were literally like fighting on the bench during games. So that wasn't going to work for too long. And my dad realized it was something that I loved and Matt liked. And funny enough, Matt's actually coaching for me at AEF now, and he's doing a phenomenal job. Easily one of the best coaches that we have at AEF.
You're not being biased?
No, absolutely not. He loves those kids, and he has a great way of pushing them hard and pushing them to where they're going to get better, but also understanding when to draw it back and focus on either the skill work or the X's and O's and the interpersonal relationships. I mean, he's where I was at like 10 plus years coaching, and he's only been coaching for just over a year. So he picks up on stuff really, really quickly. He's very smart.
And to clarify, is Matt, this is the twin brother or the older brother?
Matt is my twin brother.
And then your older brother's name is?
Nick.
Got it.
Yeah.
So after coaching at St. Pius, St. Leo.
Yeah, so I coached at Pius my freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior year. After my freshman and sophomore year, I was the head coach my junior, senior year. Because I told my dad, I'm like, just kind of let me take over. And I made a lot of mistakes through that, and I was a complete nutball coaching at St. Pius and getting a bunch of technicals and, punching clipboards and stuff like that. And I really didn't know how to run even a practice at that point. But I knew basketball and I knew kids, and my dad helped me tremendously with how to connect with all of the athletes and not just some of them. Like that is his gift. He can connect with people on a level that most humans don't even understand.
So was this when you were still considered a Catholic kid, just growing up Catholic, like Protestantism wasn't a thing for you back then?
Correct.
So so your faith hasn't grown at all in your beginning years of coaching basketball, right?
Correct.
So
yeah.
did you, I guess we can get into it now. So when did your growth for learning more about the Bible and Jesus Christ come from? Because as you said earlier, you were born and raised Catholic, and your parents, you believe, are super spiritual and they have a great relationship with Jesus, but just the whole Catholicism didn't match you or just didn't benefit you with your growth in Christ. So can you just kind of share like when that all started?
Yeah, so I was struggling real bad with drugs and alcohol for a long time, from the age of 15 to 27. So for 12 years, I was strongly addicted to drugs and alcohol. When I knew I couldn't play basketball in high school and I had more free time on my hands, I got into drinking pretty heavily. And then when I injured my shoulder and ran out of medicine that the doctors gave me, I'm like, I'll just, self-medicate. And so I started smoking a bunch of weed and continued doing that for a really long time and got into some really hardcore drugs for a while, and completely lost faith. Like I believed that everyone has control of their own destiny. And I was a very universal, we can do whatever we want type of person, which I'm strongly the opposite of that now, which I wouldn't say like, you can do what you want. God gives us free will. But I don't want to pursue my wants. I want to pursue what the Lord wants. And so I was struggling really bad. I almost died when I was 23. I cracked my head open on the concrete and got rushed to the hospital. My friends rushed me there. And all I remember is waking up in the hospital with my head stuck to the pillow and throbbing in pain. And I woke up and the doctors said, "Oh man, Mr. Beck, we're glad that you woke up." I was like, "What do you mean?" And they said, "Well, we didn't know if you were going to live or die. You were a couple minutes away from your brain bleeding out." I had a subdermal hematoma and a terrible concussion, and I had 14 staples in the back of my head. I mean, it was not good. I was in rough shape. And at that point, I was drinking every day, 7 days a week, and I was using drugs every day, 7 days a week. So I knew that that was a problem. Shortly, a couple days after that, I ended up going to treatment in Minnesota at a really, really good treatment center, like one of the world-renowned treatment centers called Hazelden in Minnesota, and was there for, I think, 12 days. My insurance didn't cover anything else, and got back and immediately started using again. Didn't do much for me. I mean, it was good for the 12 days, and I was sober for those 12 days, but I got back and started using pretty quickly again after that and got into some other stuff. And then fast forward 3 or 4 years, I was in really bad shape. It was June of 2019, so coming up here in a couple days actually. I was invited to a CEC retreat. My dad invited me to a Christians Encounter Christ retreat. This is a Catholic retreat, and I praise Jesus for saving my life, and I did find Jesus at this retreat. So I give a lot of credit to CEC and what they do for people and bringing people to Jesus. So I won't go too deep into the weekend and that, but I will say that I was 285 pounds. My feet were turning yellow. My liver was failing. I didn't have a healthy body movement or stool or any of that for 3 years, like literally 3 years. Like my stomach was giving out on me. I was almost had to have stomach surgery. I mean, there was not a day that went by for a couple of years that I wasn't sick, and I tried to hide it and whatnot, but it was getting pretty bad at the end. So I went to the CEC retreat. I actually drank on the way to the retreat. So I drank 6 shooters of Southern Comfort Black on the way to the retreat, and that's like 100 proof alcohol. So drank that with a couple of these potion drinks that you can buy at some stores here in the city that are awful. I won't go too deep into that. I don't want to talk negatively about, some stores that are selling these. So I won't go into that, but they're horrible, horrible drinks. So I should have been out of it, completely out of it. And get to the retreat. I was late. I walked through the doors of the retreat. And as I walked through the doors, I was stone cold sober. It was bizarre. Like I cannot explain it. So we're, going through this retreat. I'm meeting a bunch of Catholic Christian men who want to help me. And it was a long 3 days. It was all night Friday night, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. And you stayed at this retreat. It was a retreat center in Benson that actually closed after that weekend. So it was pretty meant to be that I was there. And the priest that led that retreat was also invited on his weekend by my dad a couple years before that and changed his entire life because of the weekend. So the weekend was long. It was pretty boring. And there was a lot of things that I'm like, man, when is this going to end? But I needed help. And I was asking a lot of questions and they were giving me answers. So I was like, all right, I'm getting answers like, is the Bible real? Yes. Is everything in the Bible like what we're actually supposed to do? That sounds hard. Yes. But it's not going to be easy and you don't have to be perfect. I'm like, okay, like this makes sense. And this is all great, but I'm glad I'm here. I wasn't planning on following Jesus after this weekend. I was atheist going into this weekend, and there are 2 requirements to go to the weekend. You have to be 24 years old or older, and you have to be a Christian. So my dad broke the rules on that one. And thank the Lord he did, and thank my dad. So we're getting through the retreat. There's a couple of things that we do. There's like skits. You listen to a couple people's testimonies, and you go through 5 Catholic services in 2.5 days, which again, I will not bag on the Catholic Church. I'm not Catholic anymore. If they bring a lot of people to Jesus, that's awesome.
That should be the goal of every Christian denomination.
Amen.
So, yeah, I don't want to bash Catholicism either. My whole mom's side's Catholic, or I should say my grandpa, my mom's side, and his second family, they're all devout Catholics. And my grandpa, who, again, a devout, very similar with you and your dad, I would say he planted a seed in me with my spiritual growth with Christ, because I asked him similar questions too, like, is the Bible real? Why do you believe in Jesus? And just like basic, like hard answering questions, and he answered all of them. And I'm like, okay, like I've always, I was raised Catholic. I was baptized a month old in the Catholic Church back in Illinois. And then when I was like 7 or 8, my parents left the Catholic Church. We went to a non-denominational church in Naperville, Illinois called Calvary. And I don't want to get too much into my spiritual journey. I'll probably talk about that at another time, but because I want to focus on you, and today's all about you. So
today's all about God.
No, amen to that. And so it was just kind of funny hearing how, again, how we both don't want to bash the Catholic Church, but I don't believe how am I supposed to word this? Let me think. Let me cook. I disagree with some of the things in the Catholic Church for sure. I guess, for example, I don't pray to Mary. I don't understand that.
100% agree.
Purgatory, don't believe that.
Agree.
I don't. No, I did Google search. I read the Bible, specifically the New Testament. Didn't see anything about purgatory. So, but then again, I don't know if I need to open my mind or if I'm right, or again, I'm 23 years old and I haven't read the whole Bible, but
I don't want to open my mind or listen to my mind. I want to listen to what the Holy Spirit is trying to tell me, and I want to listen to what God is telling me, and I can't interpret that very well, so I go straight from the Word.
No, yeah, and that's what I love about Relevant. Like, we don't do
It's not opinion based.
Yeah,
it's not from the Word.
Yeah, you said it best. It's from, like, if you're doing a sermon, you're doing it from, like, again, we're learning about trust, and my pastor is literally bringing up like these Bible stories of like how lying, the opposite of trust, is so like bad, and he's bringing these stories from, like last Sunday he brought up a story from the book of Acts, and that got to me. And so
great service, by the way.
No, yeah, Ronnie does
awesome.
Ronnie does a phenomenal job for sure.
So moving forward with my weekend experience, it was a lot of questions. There were 14 candidates. I was one of 14 candidates, and there were 3 or 4 people helping each of us. So we had 45, 50 people there. And I was the only one of all 14 candidates that was asking questions. Nobody else would ask a question. No one else would answer a question. I'm like digging for information, and because I was dying. Like, I was 100% dying, and I would have died. So we get to the last day, and we're just about to go to lunch. And the priest that was leading the retreat, his name is Father Patrick, great dude, young, energetic, and by all means, he is on fire for the Lord. He was telling us a story about how he was taking a class to become a priest. He was an engineer before he became a priest. So he was working 40, 50 hours a week, making really good money. And he knew if he became a priest, he would work 70, 80 hours a week and make half as much money. So needless to say, enormous commitment. And so he was taking this class to become a priest. He didn't know if he wanted to finish the priesthood anyways. He didn't like this class. He had a lot of stuff going on this particular day, and he could have skipped class and still passed. Would have been fine. So he prayed to God. He said, God, I really want to skip class. Should I skip class? And he got a pretty clear no. So he went to class, hour-long class. He said for the first 59 minutes of this class, it was boring, long, drawn on. He's like, why did I go? I'm looking for an answer of why you told me to go, and I'm not finding it. And then from the 59th minute to the 60th minute, just that 60 seconds, he said he felt this overwhelming presence of the Holy Spirit lift him up and tell him, keep going. It's 2 words: keep going, keep going, keep going. And that was his message, to keep going, to become a priest, that you're heading in the direction that I want you to, my child. Keep going. So he told us, he asked us a couple of questions. He said, if you're tired, there's 45 of us in the room. If you're tired, me. If you don't believe half of what I'm saying, I don't believe any of it. So me. And if you want to go home, I'm like, all right, these all now apply to me. Everything he just said applies to me. So now he's talking directly to me, even with all these people in the room. So he had my attention. If that is you, just stay till the last minute, because that might be when it hits. It's like, man, all right, I'll stay. Like, I'm not going to go anywhere anyways. I'm dedicated to the weekend. So I went on a walk. I took a nap, and I'm walking up to the very last mass of the weekend. And walking up the stairs to the mass, I was a little bit late, and I ran into a guy that was in my group who was a youth choir leader at St. James. And this guy was trying to tell me the whole time, like, this is all a hoax. Like, this is all, like, none of this is real, blah, blah, blah. Thinking back now, I don't know if he was saying Catholicism was a hoax or Christianity in general. I wish I could rewind and ask him that question, but my immediate reaction to him saying that was, oh yeah, me too, can't wait to leave. And I nudged him after I said that and was like giggling about it. And I felt so uncomfortable. I was like, no, like something deep inside of me felt so wrong about that, because I really wasn't ready to leave. I was dying. So I went into the mass. I love singing, love worship music. And I love singing in general. And I was just singing the worship songs because I like singing. And so we go in, they're already singing. I opened the book to where they were singing. Don't remember what the song was. I start singing, and 6 or 7 seconds into singing, I felt an incredible rush go all over my body. And I felt like I was being literally picked up out of my chair and levitating. And not for a minute, not for 10 minutes, for the entire hour, the whole service. And I heard very, very clearly, you're free, you're free, you're free, over and over and over. I was bawling my eyes out. Tears were streaming down my face. And the day before, we wrote down on a piece of paper our afflictions. Mine was drugs and alcohol. Wrote that down on a piece of paper. That piece of paper was nailed to a cross. The cross was blessed. I know that day, which was June 23rd, 2019, that Jesus removed my drug and alcohol addiction. I had tried everything. Treatment, AA, all of it. You name it, I tried it. And didn't find anything that stuck. But that day, Jesus removed my drug and alcohol addiction and put me on a spiritual journey that has been hard, challenging, a struggle, but absolutely worth it, and a huge blessing, and an incredible journey that I would never take back for anything. Through the years, that's coming up a couple days from now, will be the 5-year mark of my salvation date. And it took me about 3 years, 2.5, 3 years after that to actually start trying to follow and pursue Jesus. Like, I knew him, I knew he saved me, I believed in him, but I didn't try and follow and pursue him for 3 years. And I mean, I got the Jesus tattoo and whatnot, and I talked a good talk, but I was not walking a spiritual walk by any means. And I kept praying and kept praying and kept praying. And February of just over 2 years ago, I got on my knees and I prayed as loud as I've ever prayed. I was screaming up to God. I wasn't reading the Bible. I wasn't going to church. I wasn't hanging out with Christian friends. I would pray every day for 3 years. That is something I consistently did. So I prayed and I'm like, God, I'm struggling. I'm struggling with some other things right now. Some really other, like, ugly things that I need you to remove. And a day or two later, he removed those things and allowed me to move forward in my life, because I was stuck in this rut of, I'm training a bunch of kids. I was training 65 to 85 kids a week at Broadmoor Hills apartment. And I was coaching a couple of teams a season for either the Omaha Ducks, or OSA over the spring and summer. And I had a lot of free time on my hands, which the devil uses that free time. And I was living alone, isolation, which is also what the devil uses. And so that moment of that prayer really is what kind of catapulted me into looking into, maybe I should start looking into other churches, other services, and not the Catholic Church. So I was looking into other services. I went to Christ Community for a while with an amazing family of people that I've known for 12, 13 years. I had dinner with them last night. And I like that church. It's a good church. It's a good message, but I wasn't ready. So I didn't commit to anything at that church. And then I was invited to a service at Life Church out on 207th and Center. And within 5 minutes, I fell in love with the people there. I'm like, man, these people actually care about me. Like I can feel they care about me. And I believe God gave me a gift of being able to not only speak with other people, but read people pretty well and read, if they're a genuine person or not, or maybe they're a genuine person, but they've been hurt, and try and dig deeper into that. I don't do very surface level things. I don't like surface level conversations. I'm not going to talk about the weather. I don't care. Weather is weather. I know. I love snow. I love rain. I love the sun. I love storms. I don't want to talk about the weather. I want to talk about life. And I want to dig into why we're here. And why we're here is to bring people to Jesus. And they're talking about that at Life Church. And they are listening to my crazy story about drugs and alcohol and this and that. And they're not turning away. They're not judging me. They are praying with me and telling me to repent of my sins and change my ways moving forward. And that was a big deal. So I decided to get baptized there fall of 2 years ago. And it was the best decision that I had ever made. It was absolutely life-changing. And I didn't realize, being baptized as a baby into the Catholic Church, that I could get baptized again. And when I learned that, and I was like, yeah, I definitely want to do this. I want to go public with my faith. I want to let people in the community know that Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. And I know that when you're baptized, it doesn't mean that you're saved. Like when you accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, that's your salvation. And you accept that into your heart. But following Jesus was something entirely different. I want to follow him. I want to do what he wants me to do and not what I want me to do. Because I want these things from earth that are feel good, instant gratification things, and that make me feel good. When in reality, nothing has even come close to the feeling I get when I am abiding by what the Lord wants and listening to what God wants for me and using that to help other people. So Life Church has been big in that way. I started working with their youth ministry on Wednesday nights called Switch, and that was awesome. I had to stop doing that this last winter because AEF got pretty big, but yeah, Life Church is where I'm at right now. Craig Rochelle is awesome. The people at Life Church Omaha are awesome. And I've been to Relevant in Elkhorn quite a few times. Love Relevant. Ronnie Rothy is on fire for the Lord. That dude is leading people in the way he was born to lead people. He doesn't try to change him for other people. He is being led by the Lord, and he's doing it with energy and passion. And I appreciate that because that's how I coach, with energy and passion.
So, first off, thank you for sharing. That was practically your testimony right there. I want to thank you for sharing that to the internet. Next, I want to kind of talk about, we already talked about your first years of coaching, and then you moved from St. Pius, St. Leo to OSA, correct?
Yes.
So you were there for 12 years?
Yep.
So I only want to talk a little bit about that. So you coached here for 12 years, so you had to learn something. So who were your mentors there? What did you get from OSA that you would bring, or just help you out, I guess, with just coaching?
Sure. Yeah, I started at OSA when I was 18 or 19. It was over the summer, and I'd never coached over the summer, and I got the job from Charles Thompson, who is still a very good friend of mine to this day. Great dude, awesome guy in the community, really cares about kids and wants to do right by the coaches that were at OSA. And he helped me quite a bit with whatever I had a question about. We had really long talks at the end of practices a lot of the time, and he helped me with practice structure and setting up different skill work and skill drills and offenses, defenses, press and press break. I also learned a lot from other people at OSA in terms of X's and O's, press break, what I wanted to do with my teams, what worked, what didn't work. And I mean, there were a lot of really good coaches there that I learned from. But I would say Charles Thompson was that guy that really was the person that I could go to with anything, with any question. And he was definitely my mentor there at OSA. And I mean, I could call him right now and go get lunch, and it would be like we had never left. He's a great dude and puts a lot of passion into the kids.
So, with everything you learned from Charles, right? With that, you brought it to AEF. So how did AEF start?
So I'll back up. While I was still coaching at OSA, I was approached by a family, the Raker family. Love the Rakers. Great people. I think they're Millard South or Gretna East District, Millard West. But anyways, they're great people. They reached out to me because I was training a second grader, Jameson Meyer. I worked with his mom, Sarah Meyer, at UCC, the Urology Cancer Center, which is now X Cancer. I was working there. Sarah worked there as well. She asked me to start training her son, Jameson, as a second grader. He played on this second grade team. And their coach, Amy Raker, she came up to me and was like, hey, I've heard a lot about you. We have been watching you coach for 4 or 5 years. So they were watching me coach the clinics at OSA or the camps. There was like pre-K kindergarten clinics that I was helping the kids learn how to catch the ball and pass the ball. And they were just watching what I was doing and wanted someone to take over their team that had been together from pre-K, kindergarten, first and second grade. They'd been together for a while. And she had coached them the whole time. And she wanted someone a little bit more advanced in their knowledge with coaching and kids to take over the team. And we met, and she was like, hey, I'd love for you to coach these dudes. It's one third grade team next fall and winter. Here's what we'll give you. And I was like, that sounds like a great opportunity to grow and kind of get out of my comfort zone, get out of OSA for the fall and winter, and do something new. So I coached that third grade team. They're now my sixth graders. They almost about half of them came over to AEF. And I've had a good group of those dudes that are still together. So they were third graders. It was such a fun little group. They were hilarious, and we played up in the fourth grade. We were solid, but just coaching such a young group was good for me because I had just got done coaching a 17U team at OSA. And it was totally different. So I had to learn a lot really quickly. I've coached those like that grade before, but it was a long, long time ago. So I definitely made some mistakes early on with the youngins and learned from that pretty quickly. And we ended the season just on a really fun, really high note. And so Amy and Blair Raker came up to me and asked me to coach that team again the following year, but also their older boys who were twins, Bentley and Blake. Bentley, Blake, and James are awesome kids, and they have a daughter, Violet, but they're just a great family. And so I was like, yeah, I'd love to. So we had 2 Ducks teams the following fall and winter, 4th and a 6th grade team. And I had people coming up to me all the time. Hey, when are Ducks tryouts? Hey, when are the Ducks going to try out? When can my son come play for you? I'm like, we don't have tryouts. We're just doing these 2 teams. But then I prayed about it, and I had a lot of people pray for me and thought about it. I'm like, if I have an opportunity to help more kids, then I should, because I'm in this to try and help kids. And if I just limit it to these 2 teams, which were awesome, and it was a great opportunity, I'm just not doing as much as I know I could. So by all means, I did not want to start a business. I had tried it. I put that in quotes because I had like tried it 7 years ago, but I really didn't try it. It was like something that was a fleeting thought for a couple of days, and didn't put much time or effort into. But I knew starting a business would be really challenging. And I talked to a lot of people in my life about it, and they're like, you should go for it. And I said, no, it sounds hard. I mean, I was living a bachelor lifestyle. I was coaching 2 teams and training kids and had a lot of free time on my hands. So I enjoyed my life, but it wasn't fulfilling. It was fun and not fulfilling. And I want a life that is fulfilling. And so I prayed a lot about it. It was actually right after I got done praying, February, to God to remove some other things that I needed removed. And he did that. And then he prompted me to start my own business and call it AEF Academy, for Attitude, Effort, and Focus. That stemmed from a team that I had a couple of years prior. And my message has been, since I've come to Jesus, that you have 3 controllables in life: your attitude, your effort, and your focus. And that's been a message that is consistent with the teams that I've coached for a long time. And so when I thought about starting my own business, I'm like, that's it. AEF Academy. That's what it's got to be. I'll give credit to Ty Christensen. He's going to be a senior next year, but he's a dude that I used to coach. Awesome kid. He was the one that named like the group chat that they had, that the players had, AEF. And I'm like, okay, that's short, it's catchy, and I like it. So I decided to start it. Had no idea where to start, what to do, but I was training Philip Atchity, who will be a sophomore at Elkhorn South next year. He's had a couple injuries, couple foot surgeries, but he's working his way back. He played baseball for the school this year. I was so freaking proud of him for making that team, and he's considering going out next year for basketball. But just a great kid, and his dad's a great dude, Mick Atchity. And I was talking to Mick right before I was going to train Philip one day. I'm like, yeah, I'm thinking about starting my own academy. He's like, you should. You definitely should. And I got a friend that I want you to meet, and he may be able to help you. That guy's name is Craig Wolf, and he is now my business partner. And I met with Craig a handful of times. Great dude, incredible man. I could talk about Craig all day, so I won't go super deep into that, but Craig has helped me tremendously and helped AEF every step of the way with building a program that is all about helping kids. And so year 1, fall and winter, 2 years ago, we had, this will be our 3rd fall and winter season coming up here pretty soon, but we had 4 teams. So basically the Ducks teams came over minus, a handful of kids, and we had 2 other teams that formed. And I was like, all right, this is great. We have 4 teams. We're really small, but this is good. And we moved forward with those 4 teams. We had a really good fall and winter season. We had a lot of fun. I hired Jeffrey Evans, who is still coaching for me and working other jobs in the city he's helped my brother with Grizzly Movers. My brother has his own company, Grizzly Movers. There's a plug for Matt. He's amazing at what he does. If you need a mover, hire Grizzly Movers. But no, Jeffrey was my first coach. Jeffrey Evans, my dad, coached for me that year. He's not coaching for me anymore, but it was just us 3 coaching the 4 teams, and I knew I needed help. I did not have anyone to do the admin side, the inner workings of everything on the back end of youth sports. And I was getting overwhelmed with all of it, like jerseys, uniforms, emails, hotel, tournaments, trying to make connections with other clubs. And I mean, you name it, there's always something to do in youth sports. And I ran into Rachel Bloom, who did that at OSA for 13 years. I also coached her son like 6 or 7 different times and trained him his senior year in high school. So I was very close with her already and hadn't seen her in a long time. Ran into her at a luncheon, said hi to her, gave her a big hug. She asked me how AEF was doing. And I was like, it's great. We have 4 teams, but I need a clone of you. And she's like, well, you might not need to clone me. So we ended up meeting a couple of times and had some really good discussions with her and Craig. And we brought her on full time as our COO, Chief Operating Officer, a year and a half ago. And from then, it's really grown. We have a great team. Craig Wolf's amazing. Rachel Bloom's amazing. All of our coaches are awesome. Matt, my twin, has been an amazing coach for us. And just the culture that we're building has been one that kids, families, parents, coaches are attracted to, because we care about the whole human. We don't just care about the scoreboard. We don't just care about the best players. We want to get everyone better at basketball. We also want to teach about life and about faith, and we bring it all together. So we went from 4 teams just under 2 years ago to 24 teams this spring and summer, and a 3-court facility in Papillion on 99th Circle and Portal Road. And it's been a huge blessing. I mean, the energy in the gym is absolutely incredible. And we have a camp this week. It's our Handle the Rock, Attack the Bucket camp. And it's been amazing. We have, I think, 31, 32 kids at the camp. And it's just so much fun to see all of these kids who, most of them are not AEF players, and some of them are, but to watch the kids that are not AEF players, watch the handful that are, and how they conduct themselves with amazing attitudes and just effort at all times. And they're really focused on what matters. And to watch those AEF kids go and help all of the other kids, I'm speechless. Like it's amazing. And that's what we want. We're trying to start a movement in youth sports that carries on to every other academy. Whether we grow, much bigger or not, that's not, my end goal is not, let's take over. I don't care about that. My end goal is, how many humans can we help? How many people can we bring to Jesus? How many people can we get to understand that coaching is about the kids, the athletes, as a human, growing into a better human, and then the sport that they're playing.
You had an interview with KFAM 1110 radio, and one thing I took note of was when you talk about attitude, the A and AEF, you said you gave an example. When a kid makes a 3-pointer, instead of throwing his hands up in the air, he just stays focused while the bench cheers for him. And then when he misses a 3, don't put your head down, just get your head back up and play defense. Do you think that's missing in competitive AAU travel basketball right now?
Yes, absolutely. There's no doubt about it. You see, anywhere you go, it doesn't matter whether you're in Omaha or Lincoln or Kansas City or you name it. You go to a tournament, AAU basketball, down to 3rd graders. I see 3rd graders on the internet who are making fun of other kids on the court, and making obscene gestures, and just arrogant and prideful, and human things, and they're kids. So I don't blame the kids. I'm blaming the coaches or the parents or the organization itself as a whole, and what they're allowing to happen. Don't get me wrong. Our kids at AEF have energy. We have a lot of bench energy, and I want the bench to bring energy. Like, we get a tip ball, we get a loose ball, we get a rebound, we make a free throw. I want the bench to say something. So I'm not sitting here from some high horse saying that we don't bring a lot of energy, but we want to do right by the kids and the athletes, and understand when you're on the court and you're doing something well, do it, keep going, give credit to your teammates, and get back and do it again. And don't boast about it. We don't need to talk crap to other kids. We don't need to flaunt everything that we're doing. And honestly, I want to do a better job of that. I'm going to continue to try and do a better job of that with our teams. The heat of the moment, the heat of competition, no matter what grade it is, gets exciting and tense, and all of the emotions are flaring up. And so I get that, we have emotion from the parents. I want emotion from our fans. I want that. Like, we want energy from the fans, but we want them, saying, good job, way to go, work hard, keep pushing, have a great attitude, those things. We don't need parents coaching from the sideline. We don't need parents telling their kids to shoot it every time they catch it from the sideline. We don't need parents to be coaches. We need parents to be parents. I need parents to be supportive and just energetic in a way that their kids are going to want their parents there to watch them, and not the opposite. So, yeah, I do see a lot of AA. I was watching a tournament game weekend number 1 out at UBT, and there was a 17U game going on, and there was 4 or 5 coaches on this bench, 4 or 5 coaches, 2 or 3 of them standing up, and only one coach can stand up. And then there was another coach on the opposing team's baseline side, right under the basket, the whole game. It was the most bizarre thing I've ever seen in my life. He was standing where the ref is basically supposed to stand the whole game. And I'm like, I don't understand it. I'll never allow that at AEF. If you're a coach, go sit on the bench. Sit on the bench, don't stand. And if you're a parent, go sit on the stands or go stand in the corner. So it's bizarre to me. A lot of people, that's their whole life, is the AAU weekend where they can go and be the crazy fan, or they can go and be the crazy coach or the out there athlete. And that's fine. They can do that. We don't want to do that at AEF. And a lot of people will listen to this and be like, well, you're super energetic on the sideline and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I am. I'm extremely energetic when I coach, and I'm very passionate when I coach, but I'm passionate for the kids that I coach. I'm not going to yell at another player. I'm not going to talk to another coach. Every once in a while, I'll still get on the refs, but it's far less than it used to be. And the kids matter, period. You'll hear me say that over. The kids are what matter. The kids are what matter. And if and when I mess up, because I do, I'm a human, I'm going to mess up. The kids are the first ones to hear about it. Like, our program is a program where our coaches will tell our kid, hey, we got that wrong. Here's how we're going to change it. And then they see an adult admit when they're wrong and then move forward with how to correct that mistake. And then they understand, as a young human, it is okay to make mistakes. It's actually necessary in life to make mistakes, but don't cry about it. Don't dwell on it. Don't hang your head on it. Have a good attitude. Put effort into moving forward. Focus on what's important and keep going. So I feel like there is, and there are some programs that are good, but from the outside looking in, as a fan and a coach and someone who's running their own academy, there are a lot of AAU teams that care much more about image than they do about like the actual process and the human and the growth.
At AEF, you guys also coach coaches how to coach in the AEF way. So is that kind of harder because you're coaching adults, you're not coaching kids. Kids are easily influenced, whereas like these adults could be either more closed-minded or just think they are Mr. Know-It-All. So how do you handle that, and how do you I guess approach that at like first impression?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So I want to help all of our athletes. I also want to help all of our coaches. And so understanding when you coach for AEF that there is a way that we want you to play. Like we're going to run half-court man-to-man defense. We're not going to go into a zone. If you situationally go into a zone as an 8th grade or older team, I can understand that. So you have to learn how to run a zone. If your high school every once in a while throws in a zone to throw off the other team, or if you situationally go into a zone to throw off the other team, or you situationally go into a zone at practice so you can work against a zone if you go against that in a game, I get it. I understand that. But we're not going to have our team sit in a zone for an entire game. That's not going to happen. You're not learning how to play defense. There are not high school coaches out there that want their kids to that want to go watch one of their high school players sit in a zone the whole time. They want to see, can that kid defend? And then college coaches, our 17U teams are playing in high-level tournaments for the Recruit Looks tournaments with Mike Enright. They've done a great job. And we're going to play man-to-man defense. So these coaches that are trying to look at some of our guys can see them play defense. If a college coach comes into a gym and watches you sit in a zone as an AAU program in the 17U division just to win a 17U game, now he's seen half of what that kid's capable of. He's seen how he can play offense, but he's not seen how he can play defense.
Is that common in travel basketball, mainly in Nebraska, where a lot of high school teams, travel teams, competitive teams will play in a zone?
I guess I would say
Or is it like common sense?
I wouldn't say it's common sense. I don't think playing his own defense is helpful for athletes at any age. Again, if it's spotted in, I understand that, but you don't generally see programs go zone for an entire game. And when you do, I used to get so frustrated about it. And every once in a while, again, this is years ago, I would look over and be like, "You're really going to play zone the whole game?" I don't care anymore if another team plays a zone. And does it bug me? I'm like, sure, but it's not a big deal. There's a Lincoln Supreme team that plays zone the entire game in the 5th grade. And they're playing zone to try and win a 5th grade basketball game. We've played them twice, and they're good. They have a really good big. They have a couple of good guards. And my 5th graders have beat them both times. Playing, we'll full court zone trap. I like full court presses. We'll also full court man-to-man press and trap out of the man-to-man. But everything we do drops into a half court man. And like, it'll be annoying, but at the same time, that's what they want to do. That's completely out of my control. I don't care. So if another program goes zone, we got to learn how to break a zone. We have to be better at shooting. We have to be better at passing. We have to be better at hitting those areas that are open in the zone. And if we're not, then that's on us. So, but at AEF, going back to your question about like training our AEF coaches, I am going to make sure that we're playing half court man for the majority of what we do. So we're teaching the kids. If you lose a game, but you've played man-to-man and you're learning how to play man-to-man defense, that's okay. We're playing youth basketball. I don't think there's ever been a college basketball coach or a high school basketball coach in the history of sports that has gone up to a youth basketball coach or an AAU coach or a youth program coach and said, "Hey, what was your record in that Summer Blast tournament in June? Did you guys go 4-0? Did you guys win that?" Nobody cares. No one's going to ask that. They're going to, can he dribble? Can he pass? Can he shoot? Can he play defense? Is he a rebounder? Does he or she communicate? Are they a leader? Do they have good attitude, effort, and focus? Do they know the game? Do they know how to play without the ball? Do they know what to do when they get the ball? What are they doing on the bench? How are they reading situations? That's what coaches are looking at. They're not looking at, oh man, that team was 4-0. That 5th grade team was 4-0 in that Summer Blast tournament. Wow. I better keep my eyes on that kid for the next 4 years. That's not how that works. So yes, development of coaches but it is a challenge, and we're a couple of years in, so I've changed a bit about how I go about it. So I'll make a practice plan for both practices. We practice twice a week, hour and a half each, all of our teams, and I'll make a practice plan for everybody. And it is the practice plan that I run for my teams. And what I ask of our coaches is to run 45 minutes of one of those practice plans. Transition, skill work, offense, defense, run 45 minutes of the plan just for one of the 2 practices. The other 45 minutes of that practice and the other hour and a half of your other practice, go ahead, do your thing. I trust you. Just make sure you are teaching the right things. Make sure your kids are staying active. And there's not too much standing. There's not a lot of standing around. I don't want a lot of standing around in our practices, which you see more than you'd think. But no, I want to give a lot of anonymity, a lot of freedom to the coaches that come in, because that's what I wanted when I started coaching. But I also did need someone and want someone to help me with my structure and how to build that. So I do have quite a few coaches who will take the practice plan that I make and they'll run it. And their teams and their individuals and them as coaches, they will put their twists in it, which I love, but those teams will get better. Those teams will progress. They're moving. We're moving the whole time. I'm not saying I'm the only way to do it, because I'm not. That's absolutely not what I'm saying. But I've coached for 18 years, and the teams that I've coached work really hard. They have great attitudes. They improve every season, and we have fun. Like, we have fun doing it, and that's important to me.
So you brought up earlier, I believe, how you start off with 4 AEF teams, and now you're up to 24, correct?
Mm-hmm.
How are you able to recruit all those head coaches and assistant coaches for all those teams?
I'm really glad you asked that because that is one of the hardest parts of my job. If you're hearing this and you want to coach basketball, reach out to me. Just told the internet all of my information. So there you have it. If you want to coach, please reach out. I would love to sit down, get a coffee, and tell you what we're doing. But it's hard. It is extremely challenging. We had quite a few coaches last fall and winter that after they realized the commitment had to back out midseason, which was extremely challenging, but we found a way to work through it. And it wasn't pretty, but it worked. And since then, I have worked really, really hard to grow our coaching staff, to find people who are wanting to help kids. Number one, they have experience working with kids and experience working in the basketball field and have played basketball or coached it previously, and are just good humans, good people.
How do you market your team, whether it's through social media or any marketing?
Yeah, we have an Instagram page, AEF.Academy. We have a Twitter. I'm not good with Twitter. Apparently I'm supposed to be good with Twitter because basketball's all over Twitter. We have a Facebook page and a website. We've done radio marketing. We've done other pushes. But yeah, I guess word of mouth has been huge. With the amount of kids that I coached and the amount of teams that I've coached, we had quite a few kids interested right away. And then our camps, we had a booth at Papillion Days. We were in the Gretna Parade last year, just doing really as much as we can. Getting involved in the community that we're in Sarpy is a big deal.
With you being a coach, being close with your family, and having a strong faith, how do you balance time for all of that? Because you're traveling all the time as a coach, especially in the summer. And then as you talked about, you're close with your family, and then you need your one-on-one time with you and the Lord every single day. So how do you balance all that?
You ask good questions, Connor. That's a good question.
I appreciate that, Coach.
So I started a discipleship group 13 weeks ago with some awesome men, some awesome Christian men. And they are helping me read the Bible. And we're going to go through the whole Bible in a year. And we do a journal called a HEAR journal, highlight, explain, apply, and respond. And then we do memory verses. I'm not great at the memory verses. I cram and then I'll get it morning of, like one of the two, and then I'll forget it. But it's been amazing. It's been transformational. We meet at 5:15 in the morning on one morning a week, and going through the Bible with other Christian men that have read the Bible and are following the Lord has been incredible. To talk about what I'm going through in my present life and then relate it to what I've read in the living word, the absolute living word, the truth. The Bible is the truth. And to apply that has been transformational. I know I've said that, but it's really has been. And Jesus is continuing to work on my heart. The time that I have alone with the Lord is in the morning. And I'll pray before bed at night. But it's in the morning when I read the Bible. I want to get into a daily habit of getting into the Word before I do anything. And getting into the Word before the rest of the day gets super busy. I'm not perfect at that. And there are weeks where I've gone 2 or 3 or 4 days where I'm like, man, I didn't read the Bible today, so I'll get those 5 readings in on a Friday. But that intentional time with the Lord has been really important in the morning. And weekends are crazy. I wish I could say I go to service every Sunday, but having 4 of our 24 teams, that has been difficult. And July will prove to be very difficult with mainly travel tournaments. But also at the same time, I do know it's important to have good church community. I know it's important to have good community around me. But the relationship I have with Jesus is not in a building. It's not confined by 4 walls. It is with me in the Lord, and then with my brothers and sisters of Christ. But intentionally finding time in my schedule has been hard. Finding an entire day to dedicate to the Lord has been extremely hard. Most of the time I'm working 7 days a week, and I'm not complaining about that. It is what it is. Starting a business and trying to grow a business is not easy, but I'll tell you right now, it's been worth it. And I'll also say, without the Lord, none of this is possible. None of what's happening at AEF is because of me. I don't want to say, this is Andy Beck. Like, no, that's not it. This is God, and this is God using me to grow His kingdom, and that's my prayer.
Where do you see AEF in the next 5 years?
Well, Lord, what do you got for us? That's what I would ask. I see it growing. I see it growing. And I see it growing because we're doing things the right way. And we care about the kids first. Do we have the absolute best teams? Maybe not. We have some beginner level teams. We have some mid-level teams. And we have a couple of high-level teams. But I see it growing because we care about every single athlete that comes in that door. Every one of them. All of our coaches know the names of all of our players. Like, that is very important to me. We have just over 220 athletes, and I'll make it a point to know all their names by month 1, but I'm also making it a point for our coaches to know all their names. And that's a big deal. Like, I want people to call me Andy. Hey, you, get over here. You're not going to hear that at AEF. You're a name, you're a person, and we're going to help you. So next 5 years, a lot of growth. I want it to be in the right timing, and I want it to be in the right way. We definitely have to keep growing our coaching staff and our culture, but it's not going anywhere anytime soon.
That kind of leads to my next question. I think I know the answer, but I still got to ask. Do you see yourself leaving AEF for the possibility of coaching college or the NBA?
No, I wouldn't. It takes a really, really long time to get to be a college coach or an NBA coach. It takes certain avenues. It takes knowing certain people. It takes certain connections. Obviously, it takes a knowledge of basketball, and obviously it takes a knowledge of X's and O's and humans in development. But I've been asked by quite a few high schools to coach, and I don't want to. I don't think it would be the impact that I can reach if I go to a high school or a college. I don't see myself being able to impact more athletes. I would see myself impacting less. And eventually, so I'm coaching 4 teams this year. I'm not going to do that again. It's too many. And it's at least two too many, if not 3 too many. And I want to be able to help the rest of our program. I want to be able to sit on benches during tournaments. I want to be able to go observe other practices, and I want to be able to go talk to parents. Just generally be an ambassador for AEF, not just, a coach, not just someone who is coaching my teams, but I want to help with all of our teams. So also, I've talked with a couple of college coaches. They don't enjoy their job when it comes to the stuff that people don't see. The stuff that people don't see, the paperwork and the office hours and just the commitment off the court. The time commitment off the court is a lot. And I mean, by all means, the time on the court, I'm sure they love. And the practices and the games, I mean, it's a lot of travel. It's a lot of away from your family time. It's 2-a-days, it's 3-a-days. And I don't want that.
What notable basketball players from Nebraska have you coached or played against or coached against?
I coached Max Mural in 8th grade. I coached, I don't know, notable D1 guys, not many, if any, besides Max. And that was all the way back in 8th grade. David Harmon. David Harmon was really, really good at Millard North. After Hunter Salas and St. Thomas and Jaden, I forget his last name, when they graduated the year that they won, David had a really, really special season the following year. I coached him 3 years at OSA, and David Harmon's him and I are very close. That's my dude. Great kid. He was at Wayne State for 2 years. He just transferred to Minnesota Mankato, which I'm really excited for him about, and he's very excited about because they won the D2 National Championship last year. So that'll be really fun to watch his development there in that area. Nick Dolezal, freaking such a good kid, so funny. He plays at Midland. Luke Ladwig plays at Wartburg, I think. If I got that wrong, I apologize, Luke. But he plays somewhere at a small college. And I've had a couple of players that have gotten offers from smaller colleges. And we have a couple of players on our 17U top team that have a couple of small offers and a couple of smaller colleges looking at him. Will Farrington got an offer from Buena Vista, and he's had a couple of visits to other schools. Jack Thrasher plays at Concordia High. I know he's getting looked at by a couple of schools. Lincoln Shores, starting center at Elkhorn South, is getting looked at by a couple of schools. And there are a few other guys on that team that are getting looks. Darian Whitaker, Boys Town. He plays on our 17U top team, but he's actually more of a football player. So he's just gotten offered by quite a few colleges, and Nebraska is looking at him to be a tight end. So, yeah, it's honestly the relationships that I've created with the kids is more important than a quote unquote status of what are the best players I've coached. I could tell you the names of thousands of kids that I coached that, in my opinion, were amazing and were awesome. And but it doesn't matter to me as much as the relationship that I create with them.
My last topic I want to talk to you about, Andy, it's going to be kind of more of a fun one. It's your opinions with like the NBA. So I asked you earlier.
Here we go.
I asked you earlier who's the GOAT, and your answer was?
My answer was complicated. It has been for a long time Michael Jordan. And recently, literally just like in the last week, I texted my twin brother and my older brother and my dad. I'm like, I can't keep this for long. I got to go over to the other side. At this point, with his pedigree, with how long he has been, as good as he has been, with the impact he had on the league immediately, with being able to win as many titles as he's had with different teams and different coaches in different organizations, and just his overall dominance, like absolute dominance, I got to go with LeBron James. And that is, a lot of kids are going to be surprised that I just said that. Most of them happy because like our generation is LeBron. My favorite player of all time is Steph Curry. And Steph Curry's got a little bit of a one-up in the head-to-head matchups with Bron.
Who is an NBA player kids should follow? I have two, but I want to hear your opinions first.
I think Steph Curry, honestly. He's a great dude, and he doesn't complain all that much unless it's like absolutely egregious call against him. He works so hard. He is one of the hardest workers in NBA history. I mean, he runs 5 miles a game. Like, it's insane watching him play. And his creativity and just how he plays without the ball, how he plays off the ball. Everyone wants, oh, he's a great shooter, nothing else. watch him play, how he's played off the ball. He's one of the hardest players in the history to guard because he's hard to guard one-on-one when he has the ball, and he's impossible to guard off the ball. He's constantly moving and being able to score without the ball. So when kids are watching that, when I have kids watch Curry, I'm like, look what he's doing when he doesn't have the ball. He's not standing. He's not camping in a corner. Like, he's making an impact without the ball. Also, I can't remember what series this was, but in one of the finals, he averaged 7 rebounds a game. He's not just a guy that's shooting threes. He is a worker. He's a leader. Kevin Durant said that he was their leader, like Steph was their leader when Kevin Durant was there. And just his ability to lift his team and the energy in a building. He's transformed the game of basketball. And a lot of people hate that. Like, you got third graders shooting threes now. A lot of people hate that, but I mean, he's completely changed the game of basketball. And he's changed his body because he knew he needed to get stronger. He knew he needed to get better at defense, and he's done a lot of that for the most part. So I would say Steph Curry, and
I have Steph Curry and I have Kawhi Leonard. I have Kawhi Leonard because I just love how quiet he is. He's not about the paparazzi. Kind of a sidetrack. He went to Toronto for one season, won the finals, left to the Clippers, I believe, right after. And I say kids should follow him. He's super quiet. I don't know if he has like a strong faith, and maybe he keeps that to himself, but that's why I like Steph Curry, because he's strong in that too. He's open with that. And but with Kawhi, like, I never see him celebrate after he scores. I never hear any drama out off the court. It's just he's just loves the game, and he's actually good at what he does on the court. So, and again, as I keep saying, he doesn't let the paparazzi get to him, and he just stays quiet and humble. And I think kids should follow that lead.
yeah, I agree with that. If Kawhi could stay healthy, he'd be one of the best players of all time. Like, Kawhi is insane. His bag is insane. His ability to score at the basket, at the mid-range, unstoppable. At the three-point line, finish when it matters, hitting big shots, just great at defense. Yes, he's a great player. He just has not stayed healthy, which is true of a lot of players. That's why I honestly think, it's incredible how long LeBron has stayed healthy. It's insane to me. I wouldn't go with Kawhi. So Steph and Drew Holiday.
Why Holiday?
Drew Holiday is an absolute game changer. He's an absolute game changer. He didn't win Finals MVP. He doesn't need that. He is a guy that immediately goes to a team and makes that team better. The intangibles, not just his skill, which he is skilled, and he can score it, and he can attack downhill, and he is good with the ball, but he's incredible at defense. He's extremely smart, and he does extra plays on the court that are winning basketball games for the Celtics, that won games for the Celtics or put them over the top, where Marcus Smart was good. I'm not going to sit here and say Marcus Smart wasn't good, but I knew when they got Drew Holiday, that was going to be a game changer for them. He did the same thing for the Bucks. The year the Bucks won the NBA title. He is a guy, go watch the playoffs. I'm not saying the Celtics had a tough road. They kind of smooth sailing for them a little bit. But they earned it, and Drew Holiday was a huge part of that. And he wasn't the all-star. He wasn't the guy. And there are a lot of athletes who just want to follow the guy. And that's awesome. Steph Curry, he's the guy. So I'm not saying I'm someone who wants to follow a role player myself personally, but I think it's really important for young athletes to watch role players like that and how they do their role and how good they are in their role.
Are you a big sneakerhead?
I wouldn't say I'm a sneakerhead, but I love getting new shoes. I don't save shoes and put them on shelves and keep them shiny, but I'm not a very materialistic person. However, I do like getting new shoes. I just got a new pair of all white On Clouds. They're my favorite. They're in the dishwasher right now drying.
So when it comes to basketball shoes, what's your favorite brand? And do you have any specifics that you like recommend to kids or even wear yourself?
I ask kids this all the time. Right now, I have KDs. I like the ankle support. I don't wear super low shoes. But it always was Hyperdunks. They don't make Hyperdunks anymore. That was my favorite shoe by far. They were such lightweight shoes. And they're skinnier, and my feet are skinnier. And I just felt like I could jump higher in a Hyperdunk. I don't know why they don't make them anymore. I was so upset when I went to Shields years back, and I was like looking for Hyperdunks, and the guy's like, oh, they don't make them anymore. So
That was an era, in my opinion. Back in Illinois, everyone at my middle school was either wearing Hyperdunks or Hyperfuses.
everybody.
Or Jordans, but like if we're talking about like shoes that you can comfortably play in, it was always Hyperdunks or Hyperfuses. Anything Nike, I mean, the KD5s, the Ant Pearls were a big thing. Again, that's like a whole nother like throwback conversation. But
Younger kids don't even know what Hyperdunks are. And I'm like, man, those shoes were comfortable.
yeah,
And they had good, honestly, for me, a shoe has to have good grip.
I 100% agree with that.
If I'm playing basketball and I don't have a good grip on my shoes, I won't throw them away. I won't take them back because I've already worn them, but I'll put them in the back of the closet, maybe bring them out every once in a while, and I'll go get a new pair that has better grip. Like, I gotta have good grip.
So I don't know how much you're on social media, but kind of recently there was a trendy debate going on. I don't want to say the athletes' names, but NFL players and NBA players are going at each other if NBA players could last in the NFL.
Was that Rivers?
Maybe, yeah, Austin Rivers?
Austin Rivers.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I think it was
it
him.
was.
And then I can't think of the NFL players that denied him, but no. So there's that debate, and I want to.
Austin Rivers was like, there are 50 NBA players right now that could play in the NFL, and there are no NFL players that could play in the NBA.
So you are okay. So you are familiar with that.
Yeah.
So I want to get your opinion. Do you think NBA players could play in the NFL? Because when I think of that, all I can think of is LeBron James and how he could have played D1 football as well. But everyone else, I mean, I just can't really think of off the top of my head. I think Steph Curry would get obliterated by like, I would say Richard Sherman if he was still in the league. Even at Richard Sherman's non-prime era, he would still lock down Steph if it was one-on-one. That's just an example. My answer is no.
I don't know if I have a hard yes or no. It would be fun to see an NBA player try and play in the NFL. That would be really cool. So I mean, I've coached for 18 years. I've coached basketball for that long, and I would rather watch a football game.
Okay.
I love NFL football. I'll watch college. I'm not, but I'm an NFL guy. And I have 5 fantasy teams every year and just love watching pro football, the best of the best. And to think an NBA player where you nudge them and they fall down and they start crying could play in the NFL, full contact with pads on, and be successful right away. I don't think so. They don't. It's a completely different sport. And you're getting knocked around by some of the biggest, strongest dudes in the world. Could they be a punt? Maybe they could be a punter. But then I don't want to disrespect punters. So, because the Bears just got the best punter in the draft. The Chicago Bears just drafted.
From Iowa,
yeah,
right?
The Chicago Bears just drafted the Iowa punter, and he's about to be a weapon for us, baby.
Was it Taylor Torrey? Torrey Taylor?
I
I think the name Taylor's in that
Yes.
name. I can't remember. I just don't know if it's the first or last name. But NIL, that's been a big deal since this came in the picture, I believe, in 2021. How do you think that's affecting college basketball?
Oh my gosh, it's changed the landscape entirely of college basketball in terms of college coaches will not have the same starting 5 1 year to the next. It will not happen. And I mean, that's all the way down to lower levels of just the transfer portal and kids transfer. It's normal. I put normal in quotations because it shouldn't be, but it's normal for athletes to transfer 3, 4, or 5 times. Now, who am I to say I'm not a college athlete? So if a college athlete goes to a school they didn't enjoy it, they want to transfer and go somewhere else and have a better opportunity, by all means. Like, I'm all for it. Do what's best for you. But then that completely negates loyalty, teamwork, team unity, and trying to build a culture in a program and build a winning team that is more than just a one season good team, but a team that can continually be good with the same guys. That's why I think it's incredible what Coach McDermott's done at Creighton. I'm a big Creighton fan. Creighton is my favorite college basketball team. I'm a Husker football, so I'm a J-sker, is what people call that.
Yep.
But I think it's incredible what Coach McDermott has done in the middle of the country. We're in Omaha, Nebraska, where it gets freezing cold over the winter, peak basketball season, and he's getting these players that I don't know if they're going to be successful at other schools, and he turns that team into a March Madness contender every season. It's incredible to watch.
Speaking about Creighton, so Baylor Shireman, he's going to be entering the NBA draft, and I'm assuming you've definitely seen him play like in high school or middle school in basketball. So I guess, have you ever interacted with him or gotten to know him at all?
I've never had a one-on-one conversation with Baylor. I've talked with Stephen Ashworth shortly, Jason Green, a couple of the other Creighton guys, Arthur Kaluma, who used to play for Creighton, Ryan Nemhart, who used to play for Creighton. I'm getting this wrong. There's an ex-Creighton legend who trains at AEF all the time. I say legend. He's great dude. I'm forgetting his name right now.
Kyle Korver?
No.
That would be cool, though.
That would be cool. We have a guy who trains out of our facility who's actually running a clinic on June 25th at AEF. His name is Hunter Longacre. He's an incredible trainer. Like, he is an absolutely incredible trainer. He went and learned from Drew Hanlon, who's an NBA trainer who trained Jason Tatum and 8 other NBA All-Stars. And so Hunter Longacre actually went and learned straight from him in California, trained across from me at Broadmoor Hills when I lived at Broadmoor. I hated him at first. I'm like, who is this guy? I don't like him. He's blah, blah, blah. I didn't like him because he was better than me. And he's training these ridiculously good players out of Nebraska. And so Hunter trains a bunch of dudes that play at Creighton. And so I've gotten to know a few of them. I think he may have had a workout with Baylor. I don't think he's his trainer. But what Hunter's done with some of those players is pretty special. But do I think Baylor is going to play in the NBA? Do I think he'll get drafted? Do I think he should get drafted? Yes. I love Baylor Fireman. And I think my favorite thing about him is his right-hand dunk. Like, he'll go, like, dude's left-handed and he's getting dunks with his right hand. I don't think people realize how hard that is.
I didn't even know he was left-handed.
Baylor?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, with ending this podcast episode, I want to thank you for coming on. And my last question to you is, do you have any last words of wisdom you'd like to share?
Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding, but in all of your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight.
And you said before we started the episode, that's your favorite Bible verse, right?
Yeah.
Why does that stick out to you?
Trust is hard to come by for me. I've had trust broken in my life, and I've broken trust of other people in quite a few areas of my life. So just trusting in the Lord with all my heart and not leaning on my own understanding is really, really important, because my understanding is I want to go have fun. I want to feel good. I want to get that instant gratification. I want to get that pleasure right away. And when I can abide by what the Lord wants, deny myself, and trust in the Lord with all my heart and lean not on my own understanding, but in all of my ways, which is, golly, that's hard. In all of my ways, just trust in him and what he's got for my life. It is so much better. I mean, I was homeless 6 years ago for a week. And now I own a business and get to do what I love and help people. So that's not by me. That's by the Lord.
Andy, thank you very much for joining me today and sharing your story. Best of luck this summer with AEF, and obviously stay in touch, and I'll see you around at churches, mainly relevant. So thanks again.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Connor. It was a huge blessing. And just for anybody listening to the podcast, if you do have any questions about the Lord or Jesus, happy to have you reach out to me. I have another Instagram that is not AEF. It's Coach Beck 55. And I post about faith on there quite a bit.
Thank you guys for listening. I'll see you guys in the next episode.